Hi, Katie.
Hi, Abby. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. The shoe is on the other foot, isn't it? Because normally you are the person asking all of the questions.
Yes, on my podcast, I'm always interviewing guests, so I'm almost a little bit nervous to be the one answering the questions this time. The pressure's on.
Yeah, I'm going to make it really tough for you, Katie. So, on
Oh,
this
dear.
topic, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your podcast and what else you do around the podcast?
Of course, yeah. So I have a business called The Whin, which is spelled with an H.
Yeah.
And I have a podcast called The Whin Big Podcast, where I alternate between interviewing business owners about their experience of running a business and particularly doing their own marketing. And then the other half of the episodes are all me sharing kind of shorter episodes, sharing kind of marketing tips, advice, strategies, a lot of that around Instagram, but sometimes around websites, email newsletters, and all of the things you have to do alongside Instagram to actually have a kind of functioning online business.
A funky functioning online business.
Funky functioning online business.
And how has everything been for you over the C word that we're all getting sick of hearing about?
Oh yeah, absolutely sick of it. But we've got to soldier on. It doesn't go away just because we've got over it. I mostly actually things in the business have been quite similar. So I switched from doing in-person workshops to doing webinars instead. So all of my training and stuff like that is now all available online. I used to do like a 1-day Instagram masterclass workshop that's now a 4-module online training course. So the structure of it's a little bit different. So a few things switched about there. But most of the change for me has been trying to manage myself and my own routines now that the routine is walk from that room over there to the kitchen for breakfast to this room here and then reverse the journey to go to bed in the evening. And it's getting a little bit claustrophobic and repetitive now.
Yeah, I mean, I still manage to be late going from a meeting in the kitchen to a meeting in the living room, and I'm still running late, like I've just missed the train or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's hard, I think, without that external structure sometimes to, like, I don't have kids, so there's really no one else expecting things of me except myself and my clients. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a very strange time.
And have you found then, without that kind of really anyone pulling at your attention and your time, have you found it that work is creeping into other areas, or are you managing to hold it back?
Um, no, I would say I'm either working or I'm working out at the gym or
Yeah.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And I'm trying quite hard to make sure to schedule things with like friends and do scout things. Like I'm a scout leader as well, so doing that, but it's still all on the computer. Like any activity I want to do with someone else, I'm usually doing on the same screen that I'm using to do work
Yeah.
things with you and with
Yeah.
clients and all the rest of it. So even though the content, as it were, is different, my body doesn't feel any difference between having fun, playing games, looking after scouts, working, reading the news. It's all just sit here in this chair and stare at the screen. So
Yeah.
that's been quite hard.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that when, things move on, will you look forward to getting back into face-to-face workshops, or are you just going to move more into online?
I actually love my work the way it is. It's everything else that I would like to go back to normal.
Yeah.
It's fun to get together and do things with people, but I don't think it's going to be like a core money maker for me. It'll be more, it would just be really fun. I like to have a business birthday party each year, so I would still do that. Maybe having like more sort of get together evening networking sessions
Yeah.
rather than let's spend all day learning together, because actually that's not always a good format for
Yeah.
everybody, and it's not an easy format, like an easy structure to make the money, because you have to pay for the room, so you're charging people more for the same content because you have to charge them for the tea and the coffee and the room hire and the projector and the materials and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
definitely keep the social aspect, but be a bit more structured around the rest of it. Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
So, Katie, I am your copywriter for your show notes. So every week
Right.
I would listen to your podcast anyway, because I love a podcast. But every week I write your show notes after listening to your episode. So I know probably better than anyone that you love Instagram, like love Instagram. So what is it about Instagram that you love?
As a business owner, I really appreciate how simple the format is of a feed post.
Mm-hmm.
It's one picture and one block of text and some hashtags, which I can kind of use, often very similar hashtags each time. And so in terms of deciding it's time to create a piece of content and actually doing that, I find the format of picture, text, hashtags really comfortable.
Yeah.
So that obviously has come with time. Like I've been on Instagram for business now for a couple of years, and I've posted 300, 400 posts or something. So yeah, I'm in a really good habit of that. As a consumer, I really enjoy the storytelling aspect of watching other people share what's going on in their lives, projects that they're working on, conversations with their audiences and stuff like that. I really enjoy consuming that kind of content. As a business owner, I'm not very good at creating that kind of content because it's just not my it's not the thing I'm best at. That sort of conversational friendliness is not me. I'm much more of a teacher in terms of my content creation. So I'm like, here's a bunch of useful tips and here's some useful content that I've made and here's a great podcast you should go and listen to. And the storytelling side of it is not something that is my strength. So different things work for different people in terms of both creating content and consuming content. And Instagram has the flexibility as a tool to allow people to do the thing that makes most sense for them, and still be able to connect with that audience.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that leads me really nicely on to a question that I was going to ask you a little bit later on. But I know that the people watching this, my followers, who I call the Sea Changers, they're a lovely mix between people who create products to sell and people who craft services that they then offer. I mean, they're selling them as well, obviously. So there's two very distinct types of offering that they're promoting, but obviously with different needs in terms of content creation. So can you give us a wee idea about how a product maker and a service provider might create their content, if that's not too confusing a question?
Yeah, no, I get that. So if we're looking at a product-based business or a service-based business, basically. So there are some things which would be similar between both types, but you might adjust the balance of different types of content. So if you're selling a service, particularly if that service itself is not very visual. So I, for example, am a marketing consultant and a podcaster. There's not a lot to look at.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my content is selfies and it's me on camera. So I'm there because I am the sort of visual representation of the service because it's my expertise. On the other hand, if I had a product-based business, my face wouldn't be there nearly so often because I'm not selling my face, I'm selling my products. So in terms of how you visually represent your choice of pictures and stuff like that, making sure the pictures are relevant to what you're selling obviously makes most sense. So for product-based businesses, you want great pictures of the products, not just the ones on the plain white background you might use on your website, but products in their sort of natural environment. So those lifestyle images, those little setups, get the candle on the shelf over the bath, or get the books on a bookshelf, or whatever it is that you're creating, put that in context. If it's jewelry, if it's clothing, make sure somebody's wearing it in a lot of the pictures so that people can connect and relate to the product and kind of aspire to be the person wearing the cool earrings, for example, or the gorgeous lipstick like yourself. Yes, we both did our earrings on point today, I think.
We've upped the earring game.
We have. That's the phrase. In terms of the service-based business, if you are in the business of getting results for your clients, so for example, if you're a personal trainer, or you help people organize their homes, or you help people with their nutrition, or you do hair and makeup for people, or anything which involves some kind of visual result, then you want the pictures to be of that result or of the process.
Yeah.
So for a personal trainer, for example, videos and images of your clients training, like doing the workouts, is a great way of showing this is what I have to offer, and mixing up your feed so that it's not always pictures and videos of yourself working out, but there's pictures and videos of other people too. Obviously, you need to get permission. That needs to be kind of a conversation between you and the clients who you want to feature. Yeah. But for a lot of people who have their kind of strength training, or their running, or whatever it is, as a core expression of their identity, as it were, who are like gym bunnies, or who keen runners, or who are weightlifters, or whatever it is, they'll be delighted to be featured on your social media because it reflects their identity. So that's a really great thing to do. If you're, as I was saying, if you're delivering a service that's less visual, then pictures and videos of yourself. But also that's a good time to take advantage of kind of quote graphics, templates that you get on Canva that are designed for you to put text into, rather than always it being photographs. And you can use stock photos as well. I don't love stock photos because they feel a little bit impersonal. And even if they're nicer than the pictures you might take yourself, they don't necessarily build that relationship with your audience, because they could belong to anyone. Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, it's really easy to pinpoint which ones are the stock images now and which ones aren't. I think consumers, especially Instagram consumers, are so much more savvy to what's real and what's not nowadays. So well, thank you.
Unless you're planning to invest in having a professional take all of your pictures for you, then stock photos will stand out. And sometimes that's okay. Like sometimes in context, the stock image makes more sense, especially if it's part of like a Canva edit or something like that. But just be aware that it will look very different than the pictures, the selfies you take yourself, or the snapshots of your product, your behind the scenes processes and stuff like that will all look quite different.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess it's about just putting a little bit of intention into what it is that you're actually, the overall look and feel of what you want your grid to be like, and the emotions that it evokes and everything. You need to put a bit of time and effort into planning that out, or just at least having a thought. I know that certainly my approach when I first started on Instagram was literally, here's a picture that I have taken that I like, I'm going to throw it up, and not put any thought into it at all. So yes, a bit of intention goes a long way.
I think that's one of the things that people ask me about most often is, how do I make my Instagram feed look better? And I think with that, it's not that there's any, you could do a color scheme, or you could do like a checkerboard layout, or you could do the columns looking all like similar types of images. And those can be great ways to structure your content in terms of like saying, okay, well, I know what I need to do next now because I'm working through this pattern, or I'm working through this design, and that can be helpful if you like that. But in terms of making a feed as a whole look more cohesive without being in that kind of rigid structure, it's about making sure the images are all of a similar quality. So if you take all of them on your iPhone, take all of them on your iPhone. Don't mix ones taken on your iPhone with ones that are stock photos, with ones that a professional did for you, with ones that, were like, if you got loads of really nice pictures taken in the daylight, and then you throw up one where it's like the evening and it's a candle or something, and it just doesn't match with the rest of everything else. So have a think about, if you were to put all of these images in like a little gallery, on Google Photos or in iCloud or something like that, do they look like they go together. And you don't even have to use one of these tools to like design your feed all fancy for you. You can just shove all the pictures in the same folder and say, does this look like a cohesive whole? Or is there an odd one out here?
Oh, yes.
If you're wanting to include images that have text on them, it's worth thinking about how you mix those in so they don't stick out like a sore thumb. So if you don't do them very often, make sure, for example, not to do 2 in a row, because it'll really be obvious when people are scrolling through your feed that you've kind of done a different thing there, and then it just jumps out and it doesn't look cohesive. So if you're going to mix them in, put them in, 1 per row or 1 every couple of rows, rather than having 2 together. And if you're promoting something and you want lots of feed posts about the thing, you can always archive them afterwards so that your feed looks a little bit nicer going forward, because those kind of the repeated or the really similar posts aren't all still in there.
Okay, I'd forgotten about the archive function. Actually, I thought that the best way to do that would just be to delete it, but I always feel a bit sad deleting something that's, especially if someone's commented and taken some time to engage with it.
Yeah, so if you archive them, you're still able to open up the post and see the insights on it, which can be quite useful. Whereas if you delete it, it's gone forever.
Yeah, that's probably why I felt a bit sad. And so just kind of tapping into a little bit of what you said there, so many people, myself included, have gone quite far down the line with their business Instagram account, without any intention or strategy behind it. And I've noticed, since I've started to apply the learnings that I get from your podcast, I've started to notice that there is a real change in engagement, and people inviting me to do things on their accounts, and all sorts of really great things have happened. And it's definitely as a result of being more strategic. So I guess where I'm going with this question is, what tips have you got for someone who wants to start off in a strategic way, or who has already gone down a non-strategic path and would like to rein it back in and kind of have some kind of a plan going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the foundation of any successful Instagram strategy, you have to get your feed looking it has to be a good representation of your business. So it's like if someone were to flip through it as a magazine, they have to kind of understand from those first sort of 9 or 12 pictures, right, this is what the business has to offer. And that's the first 9 or 12 pictures they see. So the most recent ones, not the first ones that you post. So the first ones that you posted 6 months ago were all terrible. You can archive them and forget about them forever. I have 4 or 5 pictures from the first month or 2 of my Instagram feed, which are archived and will never again see the light of day, because I had been posting on Instagram personally for ages, but hadn't done anything for the business. And it's a very different style of content. So don't be afraid to archive things that don't represent you anymore. But yeah, so you need to nail your feed. You need to there's 3 things for this: the pictures, the captions, and the hashtags. I did a podcast episode on this. It's called something like a simplified strategy for Instagram for busy business owners. I'm hoping, Abby, you'll be able to give people maybe a link to that in case I remember the title wrong. But that's a really good one. Once you've got your feed mastered, so those pictures, then you can think about, do I want to do stories? Do I want to do reels? Do I want to do Instagram TV? You can choose any or all of those options, but just tackle one new thing on Instagram at a time. So don't try and be awesome at reels and IGTV and stories and lives all at once. Do one at a time and get in the habit of doing it. See if your audience responds to it. If you try something 3 or 4 times and you just don't get on with it, then try something else. That's totally okay. I don't love reels. I'm sure I will eventually, but right now I'm finding it quite challenging to feel inspired by the format. And there's no shame in that. It's a great current tool for growth right now, because Instagram are really pushing reels in front of people. But if you look at it and you think, I just don't know what I would do, which is how I feel most of the time when I'm like, I should make a reel. It's fine. Like, there's so many other tools on Instagram. There's so many people on Instagram who aren't actually looking at reels. You're not losing your target audience to reels because lots of people just aren't that interested in them anyway. So so world.
Yeah. Excellent. And what about hashtags then? Because I find it actually really intimidating, the whole hashtag.
Yeah, hashtags. We did a podcast episode on this as well.
Did you really?
Yes, I've done basically. If there's a thing on Instagram, I've done a podcast episode on it. The Reels one is coming up, but all of the other ones I've done insights, I've done stories, I've done IGTV, I've done commenting and engagement. We've done hashtags. We've done strategies for growth. There's loads. Like go and browse through the list of podcast episodes, because there's lots of Instagram ones and they all link to each other because they're all related. But hashtags themselves, so you need to basically you need to make yourself a list of good hashtags for your business, and then use a selection of those hashtags on all of your posts. So you don't use all the same hashtags on all of your posts. You don't make a list of 30 and use every single one of them every time. Instead, it's better to have a slightly longer list that's in kind of subcategories. So if you're doing a behind the scenes post, for example, for a product-based business, and you're showing the process, you'll have hashtags specific to that. If you're doing, say you make ceramics, so you might have some ceramic-y hashtags for the behind the scenes thing, and then you might have some more lifestyle homeware style hashtags for when you post a beautiful picture of the finished product on a dining table with a spray of flowers coming out the top of the vase, or whatever the setup is, so different hashtags go with different content. I said you need to work out what are good hashtags for your business. A good hashtag is not too big and not too small. It's one of these like Goldilocks hashtags. I like to recommend people choose them between about 5,000 posts in the hashtag as the smallest, and depending on how big of an audience you're expecting and trying to reach, anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million as your kind of upper limit. So if your audience is quite niche, then the smaller hashtags will be better for you. When you search a hashtag or tap on a hashtag in the Instagram app, it tells you how many posts are in there already. So that's the thing to use. And then the last thing with those hashtags is you have to make sure the content in the hashtags is relevant to the type of content you want to create. So if you want to do a lot of quote-based posts and lots of inspiring kind of ideas and messages written as text, look in the hashtags you want to use and see if that kind of content is in there. If it's a mix of those types of posts and selfies with, inspiring captions, that's a pretty good marker that you're in the right place. If it's a bunch of pictures of people's products or people's interiors or people's workouts or something like that, and you've got text-based graphics, no one who's interested in that topic is necessarily going to be excited to look at your pictures because they don't match. So you want to you don't want to blend in, but you also don't want to stick out like a sore thumb, right? There's that balance of here's a place where I belong, but I can still be my beautiful, original, creative self.
It sounds like there's an awful lot more thinking that I need to do, but I guess it's one of those things like learning to drive. It feels like when you're so conscious of all the moving parts, it can feel a little overwhelming, but then it becomes second nature, and before you know it, you're off driving down the road. I hope. Is that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I think it's like driving. It's very easy to overthink it at the beginning. But what I encourage all of my clients to see is that all of the options are usually good decisions in one way or another. And the secret to success, which everyone is looking for, is just to make a bloody decision and stick with it. And to decide something and then put all of your energy into doing the thing you've decided, rather than kind of half-heartedly making a decision and then not doing a very good job of the work that you need to do. And then saying, oh, well, it didn't work, so I must have made the wrong decision. Usually if it didn't work, it's because maybe you didn't do the work, or you didn't understand and you hadn't learned how to do it well, or you didn't try for long enough. I genuinely don't very often see people using bad strategies. It's just that they haven't mastered them before they give up.
Yeah, definitely. So as with most things in life, it all comes back to yourself.
Yes.
Damn it, I wanted there to be a magic a magic cure for it all.
No, the magic cure is to make a decision and then to back yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh well, that's a great lesson in all of this, if nothing else is. But just while we were sort of touching on the driving metaphor,
Yes. We were, weren't we?
Do you believe that you have got something to share with Sea Changers that fits into the driving metaphor, but is actually great for getting moving on Instagram?
Yeah, so I have a freebie you can download called the Instagram MOT. It is a 20-point checklist, just like an MOT for your car.
Yeah.
And it takes you through all of the different things you need to get right in order to do your Instagram marketing really well. And that's me trying very hard not to just run off the spiel that I always put at the beginning of every podcast about the Instagram masterclass. But yeah, so it takes you through all the different areas of Instagram. So that's things like you're getting your bio set up correctly, getting your notifications and your security settings set up correctly, and knowing what they are. But also, are you using pictures well? Are you using hashtags well? And all of those things are covered. There's a PDF download, and then there's a little training video that goes with it where I talk through everything. So it's not just a list of questions and you're left to figure out the answers on your own. There's a bit of support that comes along with that.
That sounds brilliant. And then you work your way through the MOT, you get everything motoring along. And if people want to get a little bit more in depth in their knowledge of Instagram and creating that strategy that really does become second nature, you've got the next step, which is the Instagram
masterclass. So the Instagram masterclass that I mentioned earlier, it's as I said, it's a 4-module training program. So each module is a kind of detailed video where we go through. So the modules are, there's one on growth, so building your followers. There's one on connection. So how do you actually create a relationship with that audience once you've built it? There's one on sales. So how do you actually make money off of your Instagram? Which is quite an important one. And a lot of the free content that's out there always covers like how to grow, how to connect, but doesn't go into the sales.
Yeah.
The masterclass isn't free, but it does cover how to do the sales. And then the 4th module is on the kind of structure behind that. So how do you actually make sure you're producing content, getting this stuff out there, keeping yourself reasonably organized? Or if you are like me, a chronically disorganized, creating content anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we lost you a little bit there. And I know that that's because my son, who is off school today, has just gone on the Xbox.
Oh, no.
So hopefully the recording will have still captured it. But if you could would you mind just quickly going just over that last sentence again, just so that we can catch it?
So the 4th module is about kind of structuring, organizing yourself so that your Instagram content and all of the things that support it, so those things keep happening. Yeah. If you're an organized person, there's lots of kind of checklists and calendars and stuff you can use. If you're a disorganized person, which is me, there are ways that you can make it easy for yourself without having to fit into some kind of rigid, unmanageable structure. So we kind of cover both perspectives in there.
Sounds like loads for.
Yes.
Well, I know you said that it's not free, but I mean, it's not expensive either, is it?
No, it's £97 until the end of the year, which people keep telling me is an absolute bargain.
Yeah, good, great.
And I think it's got a workbook as well. There's like 30 pages of exercises.
My over-deliverer.
and then after you've done all 4 modules and your workbook, you can sign on to a group coaching call where we'll do troubleshooting and answer all of your questions. And I will be there. It will be like this, except there'll be usually multiple people. But there's actually a few places left for people to sign up and get a one-to-one version of that. So if they sign up soon, they can get one of those. If you take too long to sign up, they'll all be gone, and you'll have to come on a group call. But the group calls are really good as well, because it's usually quite a small group of people.
And all of that is £97.
All of it.
And I happen to know, because I was typing your show notes last night, that there's a reason that you're going to, apart from the fact that it's quite obviously underpriced, but you're going to be doing something new next year with it, which is why you're putting the prices up.
Yeah, so I created the masterclass before Reels was launched. And so it doesn't even mention Reels anywhere in the training. And obviously that's now a big kind of gap.
Yeah.
So anyone who buys the training this year will get access to that Reels module just as soon as it's available without having to pay any extra. And then from next year, the price is going up to reflect the extra content that's in there.
Mm-hmm. But then people who book now onto the masterclass will actually get access to that Reels. Is that right?
Yeah, you get basically the Reels is free.
So this is ridiculous. This is like, we should be doing one of those crazy adverts.
Yeah, buy now. You get this and this and this. But no, it's just it's £97, and I think that is an excellent price. You can tell me it's underpriced, but I'm firm. I think it's the perfect price.
I think when it comes to pricing, it has to be this lovely kind of harmonious bridge between what you feel comfortable charging and what someone else can afford to pay. And right now, I think £97 feels like something that, even if you have been badly affected by COVID and things aren't as kind of secure as you would want them to be, it still doesn't feel like that, you know, that's not a push, that kind of investment. So I think it would be
and I like coming away even from the, like, you know, that was the masterclass, and I hope that your audience think it sounds great, but even aside from that, the conversation around pricing is such an important one in terms of getting your marketing out there, right? If you're not confident in the price that you're charging, then you won't be able to market it well. And so balancing the need to charge what something's worth versus you valuing the work you've put into it enough. And, you know, you want to make a living, but you also want people to be able to afford it. So the masterclass is designed and will always be priced to be affordable to people who are beginners, who aren't making a whole bunch of money off of their Instagram, and who are buying it because they want to. You know, so it's never going to be thousands and thousands of pounds, because that's not who it's for. So it will probably always appear underpriced to people who know all of the value that's in it. But and your audience need to think about this too. When you're marketing, the price has to reflect the value that that your audience, your customers understand will come from the product. And you need to be able to communicate to them why it's worth what you're charging. So
definitely
there's a balance there.
And at any point, over delivering and under charging is a much better place to start a relationship with someone than overcharging and under delivering, isn't it? So
absolutely. What I want is for people to say, oh yeah, that seems like a reasonable price, and then to get into it and go, oh wow, that was way better than what I paid for. That's the kind of experience I want people to have, not for people to be like, oh, it's quite expensive, I hope it's really good, and to get in there and be like, I mean, it is pretty good, I guess, you know. I want them to be really enthusiastic about it.
Definitely. And £97 I think is definitely going to achieve all of those fields.
Yes, I hope so. But even if people aren't at the point of wanting to pay for that training, the MOT is really, really useful, the free stuff. And even I hope this conversation around pricing was useful as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And if people go onto your website and they look at the show notes, which I do believe are brilliantly written by a copywriter.
They're excellent. Yes. Can confirm.
Everyone will discover in the show notes is that there's just loads of content in there. There's loads of freebies. You've got a hashtag cheat sheet and some other research stuff. But within the show notes, whenever you talk about something in your podcast, you always then link it again in the show notes so that people can really easily find exactly what bits of training they need for the stage that they're at with their Instagram journey. So definitely get all in about it is what my advice is to everyone.
It's like what I was saying earlier on in terms of my Instagram content. I love teaching things to people. So the podcast is literally just all me teaching people things for free because I love doing it. So crack on into that, and if the other stuff appeals, then by all means.
I feel like I need to do some kind of a quick warning though to anyone who listens to the interview podcast where you ask people to recommend books. because I have spent a fortune buying the books that your guests recommend. So well done on the one hand, but like thanks very much on the other. You owe me a
Yes,
nice.
we are putting together a Christmas friendly book based gift list for people who
Oh,
are
great.
enjoying book recommendations.
Oh, that sounds great. And is that going to be business books and other types of
So
books?
most of the recommendations it's basically just a list of all the recommendations from all the guests on the podcast, and most of them are business books. Some of them are more around personal development. There's not much in the way of nonfiction.
Yeah, okay, well that's fair enough. I mean, we're all at work here, so get on with it, basically.
Yeah. If your friends and family want to know how they can support your business this Christmas, other than buying things directly from you, the list of business books might be a good thing to send them.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll make sure that I share all of that information out on my Instagram and stuff when it comes out. But I'm going to wrap this up because I've hogged up so much of your time.
Oh, right, but it's your time. It's your audience's time. It's not my time.
Well, I will share all of the links that we've mentioned in today's episode and amongst all of this stuff, including how to get hold of you on Instagram. But if you'd just like to give us a quick, where can we find you on Instagram and what is your website called?
So they're both the Whin Co. So on Instagram, that's all one word. And on the website, it's thewhin.co.
Okay, perfect. Brilliant. And I'll add all of the links into all of the places that this episode features. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been great chatting to you. My earrings are very happy to see your earrings.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'll catch up with you soon, Katie. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, speak to you later. Bye.
Now I'm going to try and figure out how to unrecord.